They kind of grabbed the headlines, but Ed White never to be dismissed, that's for sure. So there's Ed White, he's in the 17. Behind him is Sam Slater. Sam Slater, someone we've been following, improved performances over recent years. When he first started, he was near the tail, then he was in midfield, then he was running at the front, and he spent 2 years now racing the World Championships for the indoor, and that's really upped his game. However, a big struggle in the first heat earlier on. We saw Sam Slater struggle, so really in this heat race, this is going to have a lot of pressure on that second position driver there, number 12, Sam Slater. Sam Slater, of course, has to make up some points now if he's going to make the final. So if he wants to win the championship, obviously he has to make the final, and to do that, he's going to need to make up a lot of points over what he would have lost in the earlier race, when I believe he was only about 7th place or thereabouts. So yes, that would be Sam Slater. Comes from Bristol, and so fair old trek up here from Bristol, Milton Keynes. So looking through the lineup here, we've got Gavin Williams and Dwayne Stoddart, Fergal Ludlow, John Mark-Sisman, Vincent Osborne, Sam Slater, Opnithi Puyato. We got Ross O'Mara, we got Darren Pearce, and we got Chris Daines. So some very strong contenders on paper with, well, I'm sure I saw Ed White there. So obviously there's been a little bit of a change of plan going on in the lineup, but I'm sure that was Ed White. I'll just get that confirmed. But anyway, so those names that I've just read out are the ones that I'm expecting to see in this. No, it was in fact Chris. That was me getting confused. Ed White, Chris Daines. That is in fact Chris Daines we were looking at before. I was calling it Ed White. Now, this is going to be very interesting because on paper you would have to say the top performers here, potential for the win, would be Daines, who I mistook there for Ed White, over Sam Slater and Puyato there. So that would be maybe what you'd be looking at as a result. But who knows? They would be the top 3 going in. But I'm sure there's a bunch of them going to be saying something about it. So they're completing their outlap, and here comes the flag. They're all on their qualifier now, and it's Daines who's going to set the initial pace. Yes, he does, 33.7. He's ahead of Slater by 1/100th of a second. Sisman comes through, he's 4th. What's Puyato going to do? We've not seen him yet. Stoddart is in 5th at the moment, but it's still Daines on top. Puyato pips him, and by some margin, an incredible 0.3 of a second. Ross O'Mara into 4th. That, again, is quite a performance there. Darren Pearce is, well, he's just been bundled out 6th by Gavin Williams, coming through into 4th place. Now, bear in mind, Gavin Williams will be starting this race in 4th, but last year in the British Rental Car Championship, well, he was 79th overall, so definitely an upgrade in performance. Yet again, we're saying that by a driver, in this case, Gavin Williams. Okay, so they're bringing them down now in qualifying order to get lined up, ready for the start. Single file start as always. It is Puyato, the Belgian, from Mol in Belgium. He's part of the Blue Star team. He's in their 2nd team, which, you know, is still quite something to be asked for that. So clearly highly rated. Back in 2017, Puyato was actually 16th in the World Championship. So Puyato down there has got some proper credentials behind him, and that's why he's by 0.4 of a second on the pole position. However, Chris Daines has been a real star in the past couple of years. He came from nowhere in 2017 to definitely be one of the major contenders, made the final every time. There's Daines 2nd, and there's Sam Slater 3rd, who's a regular now on the World Championship event. So as they come across the line, they're starting, no problem there at the start. What's going to happen in the first turn? Are people going to be patient or not? Well, someone's clipped the inside. That was Puyato. He clipped the inside barrier there, but no harm done, and it's not really moved it in any way. Daines, however, is not being left, nor is Sam Slater. I think both of these guys have got their eyes on making a move on Puyato as soon as possible, because Puyato very highly rated, as I said, 17th in the World Championship a couple of years ago, so he really can do it. Filing through this bend here at the bottom, there's number 10, bringing up the tail. That's Fergal Ludlow. Fergal Ludlow we're looking at as we're crossing the line with the leaders. There's Puyato, but Piato's got Chris Daines all over him. Now, Chris Daines is clearly sensing blood on this one. He's looked at who else is in the race and he thinks, do you know what? If I'm going to win a race, this is probably going to be the technically most straightforward one, although none of them are easy because of credentials that would suggest a race win for nearly everybody. Sam Slater there is following Daines down. Sam Slater's not really trying to make any sort of move on Chris Daines at the moment. He's probably a little bit too far back for any kind of optimistic lunge. It's just half a car length. He's closed up a little bit towards the end there as they enter the new section. Now, none of them are very experienced on this new section because it was only just put together about half an hour ago. So Puyato, Daines and Slater are managing to actually extend their three-way lead. Oh, and a contact to the back there. Definite bumping and boring. That was Williams and O'Mara. Ross O'Mara trying fairly robust move on Williams there. And, well, we'll see how that one pans out. Meantime, we're back with Puyato, the leader, Daines and Slater, two of the main British hopes going into this championship. Slater in particular seriously needed to make up some points after a fairly disappointing by his standards show earlier on. Bear in mind he's looking not only to make his way into the final but also take the championship if he can, and this is the kind of performance he needs to do if those ambitions are to be realised. And that's Slater who's running third there. He is technically the second behind Puyato, but it's a, you know, it's definitely a three-way breakaway group. They've got over 3 seconds to fourth place cart, which of course is Williams. Darren Pearce is up there and Sisman, and oh gosh, I think O'Mara must have been in the pits. So the number 9, that's Williams, and there's Pearce going across the line. But meantime, the camera, we're on Puyato, the leader, and is Daines getting closer? Certainly looks like Slater's starting to fall away now. This is not what Sam Slater needs. If he can actually get in contention for the win and possibly even win it, that would be what he needed to really undo some of the damage from the earlier race. Third is going to be great, but he could probably do with a bit higher if he's got ambitions on making the semi-finals, and definitely if he wants to be in the final. Meantime, Puyato and Daines, they're now making a bit of a two-way breakaway. It could be said that Slater's starting to get left behind on his own now. They're in the new section there. Around this tight section, look how tight that corner is. Puyato enters it, Daines following him. Slater with a bit of a watching brief, but he's now getting on for nearly 2 seconds behind the leader there. Half a second is what Daines is behind the leader, but certainly Slater could do with sort of closing in on these, although third place in this company is not bad at all. Right, Daines now starting to get pretty pushy with Puyato. Daines entering the new area, following Puyato. He knows that Puyato is very good indeed. Puyato can think on his feet and work his way around a new track very well. He's part of that expert Blue Star team. He notices they're all wearing pretty much the same race suit. It's all coloured the same, and only occasional badges for different sponsors on the suits. And each driver has their name on, and of course you'll read Blue Star up the leg for each of the Blue Star drivers, of which Puyato is one. Daines, though, is not being fazed by such elevated company. He's making Puyato work for it. Piato's actually having to set very fast lap times. They're 31.3, but Daines is fastest overall in this race so far. He has the personal best lap of anybody in this race, 33.2, and he's looking very good there. That is faster than the race leader, so Daines is technically faster, even though he's still resigned to that second place. Here is Daines. Daines really looking for any opportunity now on Puyato. It doesn't look as though he's close enough to take a real stab at him. I think someone at the level of Puyato he's going to have to be right on the tail of, or it'll be just too optimistic. Sam Slater, as we can see, is definitely starting to fall away, but any contact between those leaders would see Slater straight back in the middle of them, and that could be very, very bad news for either Puyato or Daines. Looking at Puyato now, look at that very easy way, just guiding the cart through the corners, not really kind of hustling it or forcing it, just that gentle guidance which allows speed. It's very easy to overdrive and actually lose speed. You can feel as though you're going faster, sliding around and doing all the fancy stuff, but it's actually costing time on the lap. And you can see from these guys, it's almost fingertip control. Look at that smooth, easy movements, not really working the cart. You see any gentle drift they do is a positive one that helps the cart rotate through the corner rather than something that's just sort of a random slide. Very close to the barriers as well. You've got to, at this level, you've got to be absolutely up to, but not quite touching the barriers. This one here, the number 19, that's Sisman. That is John Mark-Sisman. And John Mark-Sisman, he's been racing the British University Kart Championships with a degree of success as well. And this is his first time at this kind of major level. He is running in 5th place, though, so he's doing all right. We've got Osborne in the pits. Osborne, it's looking like a little bit of a slower stop, but we'll see what he can do. There he's coming to the second one. He keeps it moving. He keeps it moving. Oh, he just had to check it on the brake there, did Osborne. But we'll see how he does and he crosses the line. What sort of lap time are we looking at? Yeah, he had lost a little bit of time there compared to what he could do. About a 13-second stop there by Osborne, but it's definitely new territory. I was talking to him last night, and he was saying how he really is, you know, he hasn't done anything like involving pit stops. This is not something normal that a rental kart driver would do here in the UK. Very much either at national level, i.e. British Championship, which we're seeing now, or international level with various other national and world championships. That's when you're tackling pit stops. So, looking now at Puyato there, very much a close-up. Now, he's had a wave. He's had a wave. Does that mean that he's had some contact from the pits or one of the other Blue Star team that are saying pit now? Now, if we consider he has a 10-second stop or 11-second stop, that would mean he would come out possibly in 3rd place ahead of Gavin Williams. Okay, it's one thing losing to Daines and Slater, but he doesn't want to get mixed up with Williams, Sisman or Ludlow, because that's the sort of fight that will cost him time to the 2 leaders. He would probably come out on top of it, but the time he lost doing it would be a problem. Now he's not coming in the pits, but somebody else has, and that is Chris Daines. Chris Daines, the first one in. He's pumping the throttle. He's trying. Oh gosh, that was very tight on that green light. You can see the reflection of green light there. He's already moving, and hopefully the green light comes on. Now that is a golden example of a driver taking all the chance he can. Oh, and that's playing into Daines' hands, because look, Puyato's got caught up with back markers. It looks like it may well be, it's the 20, it's Osborne. He took a bit of time to pass him. He's waving back at Osborne. Don't know why, it's his own problem. He had the chance to pit there. Daines would have pitted behind him. It would have murdered Daines' race if Puyato had pitted. But Puyato didn't pit, and it's all his own problem. This could definitely play into the hands of Chris Daines. Chris Daines could possibly leapfrog Puyato, but we'll see what happens. And Puyato's been held up again by Dwayne Stoddart, and it's Puyato's own fault. I mean, this is why you would want to pit, to get away from this kind of thing. He's waving away, but it really is, you know, it's not Stoddart's fault as such. He doesn't, you know, he's not had any flags at that part of the track. So Puyato, I think, he should have pitted and didn't. The only thing he can really do now that he's got a good clear track is just bang in a load of fast laps and delay a pit stop to later. He was obviously trying to keep the pit stop powder dry, use it for later on in the race should he come up against some more serious back markers that are going to hold him up even more. But I think he's definitely lost time there, and this could well play into the hands of Chris Daines. Chris Daines will be setting about lap times. Let's have a little look. Puyato, though, is the fastest in the race at the moment, and he has been pretty much matching Daines for time. So though it looks like he's lost time with back markers, he hasn't really lost much. And when we talk about back markers, these are guys who, on a regular indoor kart event, they will be front runners, no problem at all. We're looking down the entry list, and it's champions all the way. So even when people are at the back and going a lap down, it's not that they're bad. Most people who don't do this thing regularly would be amazed if they would be in a race with, say, Dwayne Stoddart that we're looking at now. He'd absolutely make him look stupid. But at this level, there he is going a lap down despite that kind of talent. So Puyato there, really tight close-up there with the excellent camera work. And again, keep saying it, one of the Blue Star drivers. He's scoring points for that team. They're not sharing karts or anything, they're just sharing scores within their teams. 3 drivers in each team. There's Blue Star 1 and Blue Star 2. Puyato is part of the Blue Star 2 team, and the number 1 team, of course, with such luminaries as Ruben Boutons, Johan Medart and Logan Sune. Now, another pit stop visitor. Who is this one? It's the number 10. That's Ludlow. So Fergal Ludlow from Ludlow Racing. He was 4th in the Daytona In-Kart Championship over the other side of town last year. And he is finding the Brkc a little bit of a tougher proposition, though. He's just been bundled down to 10th place and last, but he's still carrying a lot of speed. And coming out is Sam Slater. Sam Slater has actually made a pit stop. He's just come back out, and importantly, he's come out ahead of, I think it might be Rosso Mara. And we'll see, it might even be Williams. We'll double check on that when they cross the line again. No, it is Ross O'Mara, I believe. I think we're looking at Ross O'Mara down there in the 11. And Sam Slater quite a way ahead of him. So perhaps it was Williams after all. And Puyato continues to lead. We're 20 laps in nearly. Daines waiting for Puyato to stop. Daines' best chance to pounce is Puyato stopping, but Puyato has too much of a lead at the moment. Piato's the only one right now who can get down to 33.0 on lap times. Daines, his best is a 33.2. So the longer Puyato stays out, the worse this situation gets for Daines. Puyato, although he appeared to be held up, Daines we're looking at now is carrying 12.5 seconds away from Puyato. He needs that gap to come down, but at the moment he's not doing the times to do that. Although he's running on his own, he's not got anyone blocking him or anything like this. He's obviously doing his formidable best. He's running second, and he's one of the fastest on the track. In fact, he is in fact second fastest on the track. Unfortunately, the one he's second to is the one who's leading the race. So Puyato doing everything he needs to get the win here, and obviously justifying his place in the Blue Star team. Chris Daines there, we can see a good tail end shot there, Daines. There's Sam Slater coming into view. Daines working his way round towards the completion of the lap. Past the pit entrance, he'll be looking there to see if Piato's there, and Piato's not, and that'll be yet more disappointment for Daines. He can't wait for Puyato to pit, because really I think Daines' great strength in this situation would be as if he was in direct confrontation with Puyato, and that's not going to happen the longer Puyato stays at the front, because Puyato is pulling out on Daines all the time. Daines half a second lost to Puyato there. Puyato has just set the fastest lap of the race. And there's Chris Daines, one of Britain's fancied runners there. If anyone was going to be the champion here, a lot of people had their money on Chris Daines, and he really is, well, he's going to be a bit flummoxed about what he's quite got to do against Puyato here. If he comes in second place, of course, it still will be an excellent result in terms of points. He will still have a lot of points. He'll have the kind of points necessary that put you in the final. Just to explain that scoring system, what happens is the drivers score points during the heats, and obviously it's position related. But then when you come to the semi-final, the points are not reset. The semi-final is simply the right to continue scoring. But there's only the top 30 left to do that. So you've got to get in the semi-final. But the points you score now will, if you can get a lot of points in the early heat races, it means that you maybe don't have to do so well in the semi-final. So if you haven't quite got the kart you want, or you have a bit of a bad luck run with who you're with, it's not necessarily the end of the world, because the points you've scored in the heat races will count to be added to the points you scored in the semi-final. So it could well be that someone who didn't do so well in the heat races but was third in the semi-final might actually be out of the event, whereas someone who was fifth in the semi-final, who did great in the heat races, has actually got enough points to leapfrog them despite being a mere fifth place in that semi-final. Okay, in the pits then, we've got, it's Williams, that's Gavin Williams. He was 79th in the championship last year. He rejoins. And, in the pits, so now it's Puyato. It's the race leader. Puyato is pitting. Now, Chris Daines will be hoping for infringement. Gosh, Puyato cut it fine. Did he ever cut that one fine? He was well moving before the green light. He was close to being on, but he judged it to perfection and gets out in the lead. And it's still a healthy lead now. He's got about, 4 and a bit seconds to Chris Daines. Sam Slater is over 7.5 seconds back from the leader, Puyato, which does mean that he's probably actually closer to Daines for second than Daines is to Puyato for first. So can Sam Slater come back into the mix? He's going to have to race himself back into contention with Daines. He's already in third, so it's a good point score, but the more the merrier points-wise for Sam Slater from here on in, with a fairly disappointing opening heat race. Puyato there, Belgium-based, 16th in the world in 2017, and really looking good. He's being pursued there by Daines. Daines is now caught up with Stoddart and Sisman by the looks of it. So Chris Daines has got to fight his way through. He can't pit stop his way around this. He's made it past Stoddart. His next on his hit list is Sisman. Sisman runs a bit wide. Daines gets alongside him. Sisman's realised what's going on, and Sisman, being sporting, could well lose out to Stoddart. No, Stoddart can't make it. Sisman just blocks him off, but my goodness, Stoddart tried to run with Daines there and take advantage of the a driver ahead of him, sort of generosity, if you like. Sam Slater now has to tackle him, but I think Sam Slater's got the additional problem of another driver, maybe in the form of Osborne. Yes, Osborne is now on the back of Stoddart, so Osborne fighting with Stoddart and Sisman, and Sam Slater's got to try and tackle them all. So we're looking at Slater now with the green on the helmet. So there's Sam Slater, and you can see right ahead of him, the first one in front of him is Vincent Osborne. Then you got Dwayne Stoddart, and then you got John Mark-Sisman. So Slater now is up to Osborne, and we've seen Osborne in the pits, we've seen Slater in the pits, so there'll be no pit stopping away from this. Slater's got to get a run down the inside. Now, will Osborne get the flag? No, Osborne, yes, Osborne gets the flag, but it might mean too late from see it. Oh, but look at Slater up the inside, makes the pass on Osborne and makes it stick. Kind of gives him the back off or hit the wall kind of situation there, did Sam Slater. Next on his list is Stoddart, but you can see that actually, when he was behind Osborne, Slater was closer to Stoddart than he is now, having passed him. So it did clearly cost him a little bit of time, that, passing Osborne. Next on Slater's list is Stoddart, and he's trying to have a look down the inside here. Will he? Is he going to make it? Is Stoddart thinking that this is Osborne? No, Slater gets through the pair of them, and Stoddart side by side now with Sisman. Sisman just about comes out ahead, and well, there's Osborne getting in the mix as well. So Osborne is trying to take advantage of Stoddart, and it's a real fight on down the order there. They're only racing for, you know, 7th, 8th and 9th, but by heck, it's a race and a half. But looks like Fergal Ludlow is going to make this a four-way fight over 7th place. Well, what is it? 7th? Yeah, 7th place. So there's Stoddart, Osborne. Well, pulling away a little bit is Sisman there. And it's Stoddart, Osborne and Ludlow, and they are really back to last. There's Sam Slater, now clearly on his own. He's pulled away from Sisman, and he's going to hope that Daines gets held up by people in front of him, because Sam Slater is now, what, 3 seconds solid behind Daines. There's not much time to do it. There's only a couple of minutes left in this race, and Sam Slater, if he's going to catch Chris Daines, he's got to take huge chunks out of him. One way that'll happen is if Daines is getting held up. Let's have a look at the lap times. Daines is getting a bit slower than Slater. Slater's found some speed from somewhere. He's currently touring at about 1/10 of a second quicker than Daines, so we'll see if that's going to be enough. And there is Puyato, the comfortable leader there. He's got a pretty healthy lead by indoor kart standards of 6 seconds there. He's going to take some catching. You can see very smooth, very composed, very little effort there by Puyato. Down the back stretch. Not long for him at all, really. He's just going to be keen to get this race over with and get the points in the bag. Puyato now continues round, and this is well into the final laps now. There's Puyato making it look very easy. His very high standards there. Setting the lap times, making it look easy, and just getting the job done. It was an excellent pit stop. Worked well for him. Daines even further back now. Puyato is into 32 seconds. He's the only driver of the 2 heats we've had in this revised layout to be in 32 seconds. He's on a 32.9. There he is, coming over from Belgium. He isn't, of course, a teammate to Ruben Boutens by being a member of the Blue Star team, but you can bet your life he intends to make the championship his. So, final laps. It does look like the top 3 are set in stone. We can see Puyato there. We just saw on the sort of foreground Sam Slater. Puyato down the far end of the track. Are they going to give him the checker this time? I think, yes, he's going to get the checker. So it's Opnithi Puyato, the Belgian, who takes the checker flag and takes the win. Here comes Chris Daines in second place. A well-deserved and solid second by Chris Daines, and a well-deserved and solid third, Sam Slater. But behind, it's all kicking off now. Sisman, Stoddart, Osborne and Ludlow. And Osborne sideways, and trying to get through on Stoddart. Didn't quite make it, but a very tight finish there. They were fighting over 7th place. So the checker is out, and everyone just coming through now. All the positions as per the caption on screen, confirming a win for Opnithi Puyato. A very, very solid win there. What a result that was. Really looking good in this championship, and of course he was 17th in the world just 2 years ago, and really getting towards the top of his game and showing well there. Chris Daines, of course, showing why he's one of the highly rated Brits. Second was the best he could do, but he made it really a solid second place. And then, of course, Sam Slater, a much improved performance there from Slater. The kind of points that he needs if he's going to have ambitions of making the final. We've got here the series organiser and earlier race winner, Brad Philpott. Brad, how are you feeling about the championship? How it's shaping up?
It's good, isn't it? It's very exciting. Good races, lots of controversy, and yeah, great on-track action. But I'm actually here to just announce something, or just to remind people of something. Anyone who's finished on the podium in a heat so far, if you head to reception, you can pick yourself up one of our gold, silver, or bronze star stickers for your helmet, just to intimidate your rivals in the pit lane when they see how many races you've finished on the podium at. So if you finish on the podium in any of the races, head to reception. And if it's in the semi-final tomorrow, you get an even bigger star. So head to reception, and the guys there will give you one.
And considering the level to which you've had to completely bust your butt to do those, one of those top 3 places, it's well worth having. Now, I think there's going to be a few people who are going to be stacking up those, because even already we're seeing some solid performances by quite a few drivers and some unexpected ones, Brad. I'm thinking particularly Conor Marsh, with the best will in the world, and I'm meaning this as nice as possible. Where did that come from? And I'm not just talking about the fact he won, I'm talking about the performance. That was a Ruben Bouton's level of performance. Of course, Owen Burton showing surprisingly well. I'm just finding I'm talking about people that I don't normally talk to that length about.
Yeah, you've got some of the guys who you'd expect to be up the front, but also some of those guys making some errors and dropping a few points here and there. And like you say, some guys who maybe you wouldn't expect to go and just dominate a race out of the box, like Conor, who've done an awesome job.
And when these guys are actually putting on the top performances, even though some people are having sort of real mares occasionally of this heat or that heat, they are actually... The wins are coming in a believable way. It's not just bad luck for everyone else, someone lucks into it. That win of Conor Marsh, that front running with Owen Burton, that looked as solid as you like, because both of them were starting from the pole position.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing's been anything other than on merit. No one is winning completely luckily. They're just going out and doing the job. And that's really what you need to do to make it to the final. As you know, you need to just be scoring consistent podiums in every race and not making any of the silly mistakes.
Absolutely, Brad. And even, you know, obviously sometimes the names change. Sometimes you get some really big names in, sometimes some less names.